LION+MASON began over 8 years ago when Andrew Machin, the founder, and myself were working in a large digital agency. We'd been building up the way that the design approach within the organization worked. But as it happened, the organization itself, the agency itself, was moving direction away from where we were thinking. We recognized that there was a need for a really specialist, focused delivery and service. And that was the point at which Andrew sat down and told me that he was leaving to go and form LION+MASON. And I remember his last words to me in that session was, I'll be back for you in a year. And the idea of joining another agency where user experience was treated as, oh, that's just some wireframing, we'll put a bit of that in, and actually it's the first thing to get cut in many project budgets, that didn't fill me with a huge amount of enthusiasm. But the idea of joining something where I was coming in to actually help him shape what our service proposition was and help shape and grow an organization that was really tailored to what I feel really passionate about, that's an incredibly exciting opportunity. We also saw a trend in the way that the organizations were growing to realize that actually this was the right way to do this type of work. This way of actually considering users' needs in a much more analytical way and using that as the formation for design strategy and design thinking and design approaches was not just a nice way of doing things, but was actually critical to business success for a lot of organizations. They knew they needed to do this. So this was happening around us. I feel like when we started, we kind of caught on to something that we saw was going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and indeed it has. It's wrong to say that we've got a really strict framework for how we work with people, but actually we did start noticing that there was consistent methodologies that we would then improve upon. And in the same way as we encouraged our clients to kind of to continually review and iterate and self-examine, we were making sure that we were doing that with ourselves. And now, as we've grown and grown, we've got some really clear frameworks and clear propositions that we can make, packages of work and approaches that can solve different types of need. The amount of experience that we've all gained over this time, both in terms of how we do what we do, but also just the experience into other industries and fascinating areas that we just didn't know existed before you suddenly start getting under this, finding them come through the door and say, can you help us? And we say, okay, fine. And next thing you know, you're redesigning the interface for a flight simulator for airline pilots. And next thing you know, you're designing, university research digital products and things like that. It's certain areas where, these aren't parts of life where they would touch on if you were sat in an e-commerce agency. You'd just be sat there looking at e-commerce, whereas we've just seen so much variety, and that's fascinating, and that's what gets you out of bed in the morning, is kind of, well, what's the new thing you're going to learn about the world? Because I think we're naturally very, very curious people. That's why we do what we do. We love finding out about things. We love getting under the hood and starting to rummage around and see how things work. And so getting the opportunity to see that in so many different fields of life that you previously may never have known existed is just fascinating.